This is one of those those mulligans we like to talk about on the Smudcast, where you just sort of lay back and have a drink and just go, yeah, this is good. It's fine. Anyway, good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Smudcast number 393, Batman's Morality. What is that all about? This is from a video from May last year from a YouTuber called War of Ideas. And he's a small YouTuber, about 7,000 subs, and this video has about 4,000 views. And it's only 8 minutes and a half long, not too bad. So is it going to be too complicated? It's not a crazy video that we usually cover. So just relax, sit back, and talk about your understanding of Batman throughout the years, the movies, comics, what have you, and his interpretation of what that all means. And it's nothing we probably haven't heard before, but it's nice to understand what makes Batman work. So it's good to hear iterations from Zack Snyder, Frank Miller, and all the cacophony of writers over the years on why they like Batman, why they like writing Batman, why Batman has endured so long, because of the simplicity of the story and the variety of the rogues gallery that we keep getting new ideas into, or pop-ups about new villains. Although I can't say for sure because I haven't read a recent Batman comic in the past few years, so I don't know what they're up to these days. So who knows?
Yeah. Generally, the basic concept of Batman's morality is like a lot of people make the joke, it's like he doesn't kill, he just does everything but that's not that simple. It's the thing is like not many people on the casual side usually talk about this. Like Bob Kane definitely created the character, no question about that. But I think it was Bill Finger later down the road that at least initiated the creation of the core idea of what has become Batman's morality in a more mainstream sense. It's like no killing. It's like if you can no killing anyone at all. If you can help someone get better, you do. Always protect the innocent unless proven otherwise. That whole thing. That was Bill Finger. Bob Kane was the character itself. Then Bill Finger went one step further and established a proper set of rules for the character in terms of how he operates. And that is something that has stayed with most versions of the character from that point on.
The stuff like with his, not his programming, but his development as Batman, the 10-year time skip where he goes to train all throughout the world, that was a bit over the top, I found. I think even a reasonably good fighter and intelligent fellow could be Batman, but they made him like he's this ridiculously driven man who just has to do this stuff. He has to solve every problem he comes across. He has to train with all the masters of the world. He has to learn all these things very quickly, and he masters martial arts, like multiple ones a year. And it's just like, okay, that's a bit tough for me to grasp if we were to think about all the stuff he knows and how he learned it and how he had to practice to get a perfect memory or a perfect reading recall or speed reading, and how to sleep for like 2 or 3 hours a day or something like that, and how to become a master lock picker and escape artist and boxer.
Well, it's perfectly explained. I mean, he's Batman.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. It just.
Well, in all seriousness, like a lot of versions do at least make the attempt to have all that training, at least some of it, make sense within any story they try to tell. And the whole issue of the non-realism of Batman being this skilled, being this intelligent and all that, there are some versions out there that do actually go one step beyond that and actually do explore the disadvantages of putting yourself through pretty much hell at that point.
Like Zack Snyder?
Well, I like the stories where there are really interesting characters like Lady Shiva, who is perhaps this. I don't know if she's like stronger or more skilled than Wonder Woman or other fighters, but she's like the best in the world.
She's one of the best fighters across the heroes and villains, at least the mainstream lineups.
And she's just a person. She's just a lady who's just been really good at fighting. Like I like stories that are down to earth.
League of Assassins. So
sorry,
League of Assassins. She is part of the League of Assassins.
All right.
Remember that.
Okay, so it's like
At the
stuff.
end of the day.
She's not the daughter of Raish, isn't she?
No.
No, that's Talia.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, like even stuff with Talia is pretty cool because she's really skilled as well, but she probably can't beat Batman. Like she's like we're just going through the levels of skill and experience and
Definitely not.
and power. So I like the fact there are people that are stronger than Batman, not necessarily smarter, although that's the implication with like the Joker and the Riddler. Like they're really smart, and then they have to give the intelligence level because they start doing that when they start fighting gods and other planar beings. They have to give their intelligence level.
You could say Raish in terms of fighting skill because he does have somewhat of an advantage because of the Lazarus Pit. Though they do give him the handicap of the Lazarus Pit eventually making him just too crazy for anyone to handle.
I thought the effects wear off after like a minute or two.
I mean, there's still some of that like nutjob nature like lingering like in the back of his head, like gnawing at him. It's just it gnaws at him more. It's more apparent the moment he comes out of the pit, but that aspect of his personality is still like deep in his mind.
All right. Well, I do prefer it when it's more mundane stuff and detective work stuff that's nitty gritty, not Batman reinventing some sort of piece of technology to fight a certain alien, or he has to team up with Green Lantern. It's like, okay, this is the JLA is its own thing. I understand that. People like watching that, but I never got into those comics. I tried. They just did not interest me whatsoever. And all the individual Batman comics I thought were much more interesting, especially when Batman was hurt, or they brought in a new Robin, or some other character they had to play around with. Like when I really liked the Sword of Azrael, Nightfall, that whole part where Batman got his back broken. So I thought that's where it really shines because it shows what Batman's trying to do when he actually loses, or he gets incapacitated and someone has to take over the mantle. So that's the kind of stuff I like. And it focuses on Batman as a character because he has to then become Batman again. He has to save the city from this crazy murdering Batman who took his place, or whenever Nightwing takes over Batman's role. So stuff like that is great.
Nightwing is usually better as Batman in general.
Sometimes, yeah. He's nicer.
Yeah. It's like the thing. Well, the thing is, just to compare the two quick, it's like Batman. Bruce never had anyone to like console him, to comfort him, to be at his side from that day on that his parents died. Dick Grayson had that from the beginning. That's the advantage. Like Dick Grayson has the determination as much. I'd say as much as Bruce at the very least, but he isn't as cynical as Bruce, if that makes any sense. He's not as hard-edged.
Yeah, and stuff like...
Isn't that why he split up with Batman?
Yeah, and the anime... Well, I talk about the animated series to death, but that's one of the more well-executed versions of Dick leaving Bruce and becoming Nightwing. It's like the specific situation is like they like break into the guy's house. He's an informant for the Joker, and Batman is just like pinning him against the wall. Robin seeing it while he was back when he was still Robin, like seeing it happen. Batman's doing it in front of the guy's wife and kid, and it's like even someone like Dick who believes in the same things as Bruce is telling him to stop. This is too much. The guy confesses regardless, but it's the fact that Batman would go to that kind of length in that situation. That's one of the real weaknesses of Bruce in relevance to this video, is the fact that he sometimes can go too far, and anyone that tells you that aspect of the character is never explored, they're just lying. They're just lying straight up.
Yeah, like he's supposed to ride the line.
And he does. And some of the better versions of in some of the better interpretations of the character over the years, he definitely has that writing the line aspect of whatever story is being told with that in mind.
Which is great about comics, because when you do live action, or you try to do live action, there's too many opportunities for violence to get lethal, even though it's not intended. But that's kind of the problem with all the movie adaptations, is they have Batman with guns and missiles on his vehicles, and they're just blowing away. Well, outside of Zack Snyder, they're still blowing away stuff that could cause damage to people. And the audience kind of knows that, but we don't really think about it because it's just fun to watch. Like with the 89 Batman, it's like, oh yeah, he's lighting people on fire in Batman Returns, and oh, that guy's probably dead. Like he's probably charred, and he's now a charred husk on the ground after that.
The guy that he just throws off the roof with the dynamite on his belt.
Oh god, he bangs into the bell in the bell tower. He falls down. It's like, yeah, that guy's dead. He smacked his head and he's falling like 20 stories or whatever. So
that is definitely part of the reason why things like the animated series, the whole like the DCAU and Arkham, the Arkham games, that a lot of people praise those for a reason, because those are the ones that for the most part follow the rules that Bob Kane and Bill Finger established for the character as part of his core concept. Those are the ones that are the most faithful to what I can only describe as the most definitive version of the character possible. But then again, those two have certain flaws here and there.
Oh yeah,
but they're still very consistent.
When I saw the character design for the Batman, like he is a giant man. Like in those games, he is a towering man. I'm like, that's like, yeah, yes, Bruce Wayne is a big guy, but he's not that tall. He's not that big.
You mean like the initial like concept art?
I
because
saw
in the
some
actual games,
cutscenes.
he's not in the initial games, he's not all that buff. He's buff in a lot of versions, but I've seen worse.
Oh yeah, I know there's crazier versions illustrated, but that, even to me, I was like, that's a bit too much. I thought, especially
I can see where you're coming from.
when he had that tank. I was like, what? He has a tank now? I'm like, okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
Arkham Knight.
Arkham Knight is where the consistency kind of like goes downhill, just in general.
He has the Iron Man armor.
I would say mainly just Asylum and City are like the most consistent ones in that regard, in that series.
I'm kind of curious why they went that direction. Simply because the success of the first one was pretty spot on. Like that was pretty good. You didn't have to change much.
And so was and the second one too.
Yeah,
the second one went bigger and better, and it was even more successful.
Yeah, the most dangerous thing I think were his explosive gels. Like he just sprayed and he blew up stuff like walls and stuff like that. That was like
I mean, in all seriousness, there is like purely concussive explosives like that.
Right.
It's just obviously a bit exaggerated because comic books and video games.
Right. So when you go to real life and you realize that America is filled with all kinds of armaments and surplus from the army, and it's easily accessible by who knows what supervillain and their gang of whatever, you're like, all right, yeah, they would have live ammo and all this crazy stuff lying around. And
a lot of the stuff that's put into practice, whether by Batman or by the Rogues Gallery, most of it is at least the stuff in the real world is at least close enough to most of the stuff used in some of those interpretations that you can just like, the rest of it can be just suspension of disbelief and you'll be fine.
Right. That's why I always liked when Batman, before he enters a room, he knocks out all the lights, or he causes a smoke screen, or he does something to cause a distraction so that no one's fighting very well. Everyone's kind of scared, and because that's the whole idea of Batman, is to scare the crap out of you, distract you, beat the crap out of you, and then get some information. So
that's part of the whole reason Arkham went out of its way to not only have Batman as a competent fighter, as a proper combatant, but they also introduced a more proper interpretation of the two other aspects of the character, which is his deduction skills and his stealth prowess. And and Arkham, at least Asylum and City, do that pretty damn well and showcase the full range of what the character can do.
he reminded me, at least in the games, were like a pinball and just bouncing around, which I thought was kind of neat. And
Free flow, yeah.
that's where I sort of went, okay, that's neat, but I don't think a man of that size could probably do that. I understand the suit would protect him from lots of impacts and jumping and kicking and like, okay, fine. But a man of that size would not be that nimble. So I was like, all right, maybe something's going on here. So when you watch gymnasts, for example, do a tumble in the Olympics, it's like, okay, these men are like, they are just dense. They're mesomorphic. They've got their arms and legs chiseled out. They've been doing these flips for how many years? It's like, all right, a character like that could probably bounce around like a pinball. And
again, some of it obviously is going to be at least a little bit unrealistic. There's always going to be that suspension of disbelief with a lot, at least in terms of Batman, with a lot of what he does. But
right. That's why
it's like there's just enough that you can just like get a hook on, so that you can
exactly
like process it.
That's why I really like the DLC for, was it Batgirl, and all of her stuff
in Night. In Arkham Knight?
Yeah, was it Arkham? Was it one of the, it was the second or the third one? I can't remember.
Arkham Knight is the one that had the Batgirl DLC,
right?
Or do you mean Catwoman?
No. Well, that one was its own thing, but I think the Batgirl stuff, to me, that made a lot more sense. The combat and the styles of fighting. Anyway,
reminder that DLC also leads into Asylum, but
right.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get on to the video here. We've been rambling about Batman. We'll probably keep doing it for another hour. It is 8 minutes and a half. Shouldn't take too long because it's a good video and we're not going to go crazy. So that's always nice. Anyway, let's get started.
Batman is undoubtedly one of the most popular comic heroes, catching the attention of millions of viewers and readers continuously for decades. However, if we looked at this character, we notice an inseparable element, the self-proclaimed right to use violence against people who, according to him, deserve it, which in itself is widely regarded as improper.
Okay, so as we just saw from the intro, if people pull guns on you, that's not improper to fight back or defend yourself. And that's generally how every fight starts. Batman either pins him against the wall with one of his darts or whatever, or they pull a gun. And as soon as they pull a gun, it's like, okay, and he means business. So that's where we sort of we sort of accept the fact that Batman scares the shit out of someone so they can get violent. And then it's like, okay, now I'm in self-defense mode.
I mean, I guess it'd be improper if he killed him, maybe. I don't know.
Oh yeah, he could totally just bring a gun, like a sniper rifle, sneak around in the rafters of some giant, I don't know, hangar downtown or something, and just like kill people. Yeah, he could totally do that. But
Light Tower, yeah, just
but the whole point of the character is that from everything he's gone through in his life, he's better than that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, he's so good at fighting. He's done this for so long that he knows how to deal with a bunch of guys with a bunch of magnums or handguns. So,
speaking of, it's like just a quick little side note to what you said earlier about the suit protecting him from most things. Also, remember that in some versions, the bat insignia is the strongest point in the suit.
Oh, I love it how the TV show just gave him a suit. Like it was just a suit, just a bunch of material. There was no.
That's right. Nah.
There was no bulletproof. Maybe they changed it later, but there was no like padded armor. There was nothing. It was just a suit. So
probably some like general like protective stuff under the suit. Some stuff that you wouldn't notice. That a lot of some versions of the character after that point is like start to do that more often.
Right.
But you wouldn't really notice.
Yeah, it was usually he's just working in the shadows, and he's just really good at getting the drop on people and scaring the crap out of them. So, which is
that is that whole aspect of the character, the fact that the whole myth of the Batman that he built up in those initial years of being a vigilante. He for his entire career as a superhero, he's definitely used that to his advantage in most situations.
Yeah, I always kind of disliked the fact that he would swing around the city like Spider-Man. I thought that was a bit too much. If it was like one building, I was like, that's fine. But it was like, swinging like Spider-Man. I thought, that's okay. You're going too far. You can't.
I mean, yeah, it wasn't until.
I think even the games did it better, where he would hook onto a building and then he would super. I forget what the move is called, but then he would do this move where he transitioned
grapple boost.
Grapple boost.
Grapple boost.
It's starting with it was starting with Arkham City, where they gave him like a grapple that he could increase the speed of it, so it would be just enough for him to like vault off of the building that he was grappled onto and just start a glide from there.
Oh yeah. I thought that was more realistic if you wanted to look at it that way.
Well, relatively,
Batman would navigate through the city. Yeah,
relatively more realistic.
Right. And
there is still some suspension of disbelief there, but you can at least believe him super speeding on the grapple to the building, and then just right as he reaches it, jumping right off the tip there, and just starting the glide from there.
And
at least you can believe that more.
So the gliding was really, I thought, which they also did. They also did that in the Nolan series too, right? The gliding.
Mm-hmm. The Nolan movies did that first.
Yeah. So I thought, okay, if he's going to get around, that's
in a mainstream capacity.
Yeah, that's way more practical than having a bunch of crazy ropes and guns and just constantly shooting yourself across the city. It's like, okay, that's a bit too much. So
yeah, Arkham, it was like Nolan. No, the Nolan movie started it, and then Arkham pretty much, from a lore perspective, Arkham perfected it, where he just uses the momentum to keep the glide going, which I thought was pretty it made it more consistent.
That actually reminded me of Assassin's Creed 2 with Ezio and Da Vinci. Oh god.
Those missions.
Machine.
I hated those missions.
Reminder that the DLC in that game, it's like there's an achievement where you got to knock some guys down off of the rooftops. The DLC literally added a chance for you to actually try to get the achievement again.
Oh, fun.
It was that notorious.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, that was some.
No, but in all honesty, Arkham did it better. Arkham did gliding better. Straight up.
Although I did like it, which was weird. I liked seeing that device.
It also helped that it just was for that one mission. You could appreciate it more.
So Batman did it better for gliding in the games. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Asylum and Assassin's Creed 2 and Arkham Asylum came out the same year, so.
Oh, really?
Well, it's funny because in Arkham Knight you could super boost out of your Batmobile and go into a glide mode.
That's like an eject. That's like an eject, though.
Yeah, that and in general, they just improved the glide in a Knight as a whole. They made the glide in Arkham Knight is the best in the series.
You can literally double, triple boost your grappling hook.
I think it was like 6 or 7 boosts, but
yeah,
you can qualify that as just him improving the technology of the grapple to such a point where he can just do that.
Yeah, that and his outfit looks like an exoskeleton to an extent.
I mean, but then again, that's just to the point where the rogues and the gangs are advancing their own like weaponry and tech to such a point where he needs that protection.
Yeah,
it's at some point it's just going to be too much unless he steps up to his game.
I guess yeah. Arkham Knight has a lot of great gliding. I remember buying that as my first game in my Xbox.
It has a lot of positives, but also a lot more negatives.
Plenty.
But let's go back to Batman's morality specifically.
Right. Okay.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh yeah. Just one note. Batman doesn't go after people he assumes are bad. He just goes after people who are actually hurting people, other than civilians. Yeah,
that's another thing about his morality. He's like he doesn't make a move unless he's absolutely sure.
Yeah.
He takes his time. He's like, as much as we make the jokes about him making plans for his plans, from a general perspective, he bides his time. He collects all the information he needs, and only then, when he's absolutely sure that he's got the right guy, he makes his move.
Exactly.
Like a detective, right?
Like a detective.
The world's greatest detective.
All right, let's go.
That is why today we will consider what the morality of a character like Batman looks like and why we as viewers judge it clearly as positive.
War of Ideas.
Let's start with the fact that the social environment in which Batman operates is a classic image of a system that does not cope with problems. The city of Gotham is possessed by corruption and crime. Decent citizens are afraid to go out into the streets after dark, and the existing power structures cannot and sometimes do not even want to restore order. Such realities naturally...
Okay, so when he's talking about corruption or as we see with cities in America, when you have all these laws against gun ownership and rights and stuff like that, you get a lot more crime related to guns, believe it or not, which is happening in Toronto these past few years, where our crime rate for homicides are higher than New York. So this is oddly based on the laws of the municipal governments, enforcing them very strictly. So you're causing people to react even more so with violence, which is funny because the more laws you have, the more corruption you're going to have, because you have all these people have to be paid to upend these laws or to uphold them. And sometimes you have to look the other way. And then what happens when you look the other way? You get a bribe. And why does that happen? It's because there's so many things and rules that have to be followed. And that would drive any lawyer up the wall when you have all these rules and when the people can't protect themselves. So this is how I try to wrap my brain around the idea of Gotham City, because Gotham City was, I think, originally modeled after New York, 100 years ago. So to maintain that idea,
40s, specifically.
Around there. So to maintain that idea of Gotham being so corrupt, you have to imagine the most complex series of laws, like tax laws, zoning laws, all kinds of weird things that allow not only the infrastructure to flourish, which doesn't make sense because you have zoning laws, not going to develop stuff, but for personal protection, you have all these gangs. So you can't hire bodyguards, but then there are stories with bodyguards that you could hire. So it's kind of this mishmash of ideas. And I don't know how it doesn't quite make sense to me. There's some of it that makes sense, but then there's all that crazy stuff. And I know we talked about how one theory is there's a vein underneath Gotham, which has the Lazarus chamber fluids moving through, which causes everyone to be nuts. So everyone's a bit crazy and superpowered in a certain way. So there's
the vein is there. I don't know about it affecting anyone else in Gotham.
Yeah, like how did Joker come up with his crazy concoction? How did the Riddler or the Scarecrow come up with his crazy concoction? There's all these like chemicals and stuff. Oh,
that theory.
Yeah, there's all kinds of theories explain why Gotham is the way it is, but I always just fall back on, well, if you have all this corruption, you have all this crime, it's probably because there's lots of laws preventing the people from protecting themselves. And
now I remember that theory that everything that happens in Gotham within Batman lore is tied back to the Lazarus Pit. Is that right?
That was one of them, but there's so many things.
Is that really a theory? Wow.
Well, there's so many problems. Like there's so many rogues in the rogues gallery. There's so many crime lords that are just people. So it's a combination of politics or bad politics, corruption from politicians and the police and what have you, that would cause Batman to exist. So Batman just doesn't come out of a vacuum. And there had to be...
Sorry, go ahead.
There had to have been a reason outside of, I'm going to avenge my parents' death, than just, where did all this crime come from? How did this come about? Why are the people so traumatized? And why are they still there? Why haven't they moved out by now? It's so bad. But we have these giant skyscrapers, so there must be lots of money.
Can't afford a ticket out of here.
Yeah, it's so bad. Can't even afford the bus fare. Yeah.
It's a good question. It's always been like, why can't they just leave? I don't know.
Yeah.
From what I hear, it's really cheap living. I guess that's what I hear.
That could be.
That's the thing, though. If it's cheap living, that means the poor have it like they have next to no taxes, which I think is on most books. Like if you're below the poverty line, you don't pay taxes. So you would have to crank up that tax bracket even higher. Then you'd have to have a huge tax bracket for the rich, and they would have to be doing some really nefarious stuff to keep their money and become mega powerful and do all these crazy things with crazy deals with mobsters and the supervillains and the government. So like that, when I saw like the Court of Owls, I'm like, oh, that makes some more sense. So there's this whole other underground of the rich, and they're doing crazy stuff. Like that makes some sense. Not all of it, but it makes a lot more sense than what we didn't have before.
Remind me, how did the Court of Owls tackle the situation?
Well, they didn't tackle it. The fact that they exist, and they were manipulating. They had their own assassins guild, so they would control some of the mobs. They had what the hell's the guy's name? Was it Talon?
Oh yeah, no, my bad. I didn't mean tackle. I meant examine.
Oh,
You talk about Russell Wood?
well, we're talking about the rich of Gotham that are these crazy power struggling or power hungry people in a struggle of.
Because I thought you talk about League of Assassins. I was like, oh.
No. That's like a weird cult that wants.
Some versions try to tie the League of Assassins into it too, but only a few.
Right. So I like the fact that there are at least some sort of Illuminati-like characters pulling the strings, because without it, it's like, how is Gotham the way it is? Why is it the way it is? Why has it stayed this way? And why does Batman need to exist? So that's all I've ever wanted. Like, I understand Spider-Man, that's fine. He's just a guy who lost his uncle and he feels bad about it, and he's doing crazy stuff with all these crazy scientists running around. So,
yeah, in Spider-Man's case, he has like villains like the Kingpin or Norman Osborn for that kind of situation. That whole like conspiracy thing.
Right, but with Batman and Gotham, everyone's just a little kooky, and they do crazy stuff. And there's all these gangs. It's just over the top, and you got to wrap your brain around that. And that's sort of the magic of Gotham in the setting. Is it what if this city was so corrupt and so crazy that you'd need to have someone somewhat slightly crazy to go around swinging around on buildings and jumping on muggers in the back streets. So here's Space Wolf Blackbean. So basically CA, but slightly more effective. CA. CA.
I don't know either. But I do remember that at the very least, Arkham Origins tackled at least part of this whole subject, at least in regards to the police corruption that was occurring just at the cusp of Batman's second year.
When?
In Arkham Origins.
I know, but when in the story? I don't remember.
Almost the entire story tackles the corruption of the police, and how it's like eventually it's like it's not the basis of the story. It's like it's a subplot. Like with when Commissioner Loeb dies and Gordon takes command in those early years, like the relation, the partnership between the two, like starting to form, and then when Jim becomes commissioner, eventually, like by the end of Origins, that this guy's going to be one of the good ones, that he's going to take charge and change things for the better, at least attempt to,
Yeah.
That whole subplot.
All right, let's keep going.
To deeper and deeper chaos, also manifesting in the criminals operating in them. The most striking example of this is, of course, the Joker, which in many images is presented almost as the epitome of anarchy. He just wants to accelerate the collapse of a falling society and show people how crazy they are. This is not at all surprising, because on such conditions, often the first answer is the desire to demolish the inoperative system. That is the revolution. Meanwhile, Batman presents a...
So, does he mean... he wants to cause
with that
the revolution?
specific Joker, yeah, probably.
I think Joker's view of revolution is definitely not like Bane. His revolution is like just fuck everything up, probably.
Everything's meaningless.
Everything is meaningless. Fuck it all up. Who cares? Well, Bane...
Mind you also the fact that a lot of the mainstream versions bring up the very good point that that in most versions, a lot of these villains only come into existence the way they do because Batman is a thing.
Yeah, kinda. Like, most of them, definitely.
Animated Universe and Arkham City bring it up as the point of things would have been slightly different, but the rise of these empowered individuals, Mr. Freeze, Joker, Penguin, Riddler, Two-Face. Freeze in particular would have happened regardless if Batman was a thing or not. Let's just make that clear.
Yeah.
Some details would have been different, but Batman's existence, for the most part, is what dictates how things the way they are, in regards to the Rogues Gallery specifically.
Is it for the better or for the worse?
Especially Joker. If you're one of those people, if for anyone that believes that the Red Hood origin story is the one that is the closest to being true, I'll disagree with you, but I can see where you're coming from. That one in particular shows definitely that it's because of Batman that the person becomes the way they do. That is, I can get that that's the closest we'll ever get to an actual Joker origin story. I get that, but I'm just one of those people that believes that the Joker would have happened regardless. The Joker, the way he is, the way we know him as, would have, no matter what, whether Batman was a thing or not, whether it was some other superhero, Joker would have come into existence no matter what.
Yeah.
Especially since we currently don't know the definitive backstory of the character. Again, the closest thing we have is when he was like, they put the dome on him to make Batman think he was the Red Hood.
You believe that he's Jack Napier?
At least in the animated series, they do confirm he's Jack Napier. They do name him right off the bat because they do early on because of the Burton movies, because that was during the time early in the animated series where there was still this general belief that it took inspiration from Burton, which it did to some level, and they did give Joker that name they gave Joker the name to some extent. But again, it's like under the current established belief that we still don't know what the backstory is. Joker especially would have happened no matter what.
Yeah, I think the best kind of interpretation that Joker would have existed regardless is the movie Joker.
Yes, that's a version where Batman isn't even an atom of a thought yet. Bruce is still a kid at that point.
Bruce is still a child, and like basically Arthur's in his mid-30s, I think.
I believe, yes.
Yeah, mid-30s. So it's like, yeah, this is the Joker without even Batman, and the movie is awesome.
Yes.
All right.
And it's like, yeah.
Here is Matthew Valente for the 5. Thank you, sir. Why do they not make cartoons like this anymore? Well, you got to remember that Batman has been in cartoons since the 90s. I think it stopped around the 2000s. And we're talking about the original animated series. Then there was the new Batman Adventures. Then there was...
mind you,
sorry?
Good cartoons since the 90s.
Oh, I mean, okay, yes.
Because Super Friends, at this point, you're not going to say anything good about Super Friends other than it existed.
I'm not mentioning the Super Friends from the 70s. No, that's a weird chronology.
I'm not saying you. I'm just saying people in general.
Wasn't Bane part of the Super Friends?
No, Bane was 90s.
Yeah, so we're talking about the 90s and the 2000s. Like when we got to the 2000s, that was Batman Beyond, which was a fantastic series. So they're sort of telling this future version of the animated series right there. And then from that, we jump into the Justice League. And I don't know what else happened after the Justice League, but that was like, I don't know, 20 years ago or so? Like 2003 or so? I can't remember the exact date.
Roughly around that time. But then again, on the flip side, we also had the stupid as fuck Bat embargo, where like the reason why we couldn't see any more Batman stuff outside of the Joker and maybe Robin as an off mention in the DCAU is because the Batman was using the main Batman mythos for itself. It's like the Bat embargo involves essentially the DCAU, the Batman, and the Teen Titans cartoon, where it's like they couldn't share Batman stuff, and if they could, could only be like a slight offhand reference. Especially in the case of Teen Titans, where I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but they did plan to have a scene with Batman at one point.
Right. And
in a flashback with Robin.
And the only other time after that, from at least 20 years ago, was like the Brave and the Bold, which is like this whole other style of Batman. And then you had the Titans, the Young Justice stuff, where Batman popped in here and there. So it's kind of hard because the quality of these stories are all over the place. They're not horrible. They're just not animated series or Batman Beyond level of storytelling. And they're
still good.
Oh yeah, they're still entertaining for what they're worth. I mean, that's even Teen Titans Go, as goofy and stupid as it was,
Yeah, in its own right, yeah.
was entertaining for what it was trying to do. So it's not like these things were bad. They were good for what they were attempting to achieve. So
Brave the Bold in particular, I believe, was the first piece of Batman media, Batman-centric media, after the Bat embargo. And that show pretty much gave the big double fuck you to the embargo and just did everything it possibly could with not only Batman stuff, but also DC stuff in general.
Yes, it was so much fun. And you knew it was goofy and like, was it 40s style of art?
It was the Silver Age.
Yeah.
It was the Silver Age.
It was like, that's why is Wonder Woman wearing that kind of hairstyle? I don't know. It's awesome. Let's just go with it.
Brave the Bold took the Silver Age like stupidities and sensibilities and just took all of that into the modern age to its logical extreme, and that's what made the show so damn memorable.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to watch. Even though it wasn't my cup of tea, it was still like, I get what they're doing, and that's what we were enjoying for I don't know how many years, but
yeah.
Should we get another Batman story? I don't know. I don't think we actually need another Batman story. I wouldn't mind seeing another version. Like, that's why I talk about Jean-Paul Valley and Nightfall. I thought that would be a great idea, because then you have Bruce incapacitated, very similar to Brave and the Bold, or not Brave and the Bold, Batman Beyond, and he's struggling to figure out his, kind of like, what I thought Picard was going to be like, an old Picard, figuring out his role in life in his old age. Nice psychological drama. Same idea. Just tell the 2-year story of Jean-Paul Valley and Brian and his other friend there, and they just try to be the best person they can be in Gotham City. So I would love to see side stories like that.
No, we gotta put wokeness.
Wait, what? What about Picard?
We gotta put wokeness in it, okay? We don't got time for
I
stories.
don't know what Picard is going to be. I couldn't tell you.
Okay, quick question before you cover the 2 super chats that just came in. It's like, what would you think about an animated adaptation of No Man's Land, though? How would they do that?
How many characters are there? If it's shorter, if it doesn't have as many characters, it could work.
I mean, I wouldn't mind No Man's Land as like a mini-series on Netflix or something. I think that's the only way it could work. It is a big story. It's an important story for the DC universe. It's not Crisis level. It's confined to Gotham specifically.
See, that would be the next step.
It's a decent, yeah.
Because they tried doing Crisis on live action, and that was and I tried watching one of this. What the hell was it? Supergirl, or it was.
It could have been. I'll be honest.
You didn't like
it's fine.
it?
I'll be honest. It was fine. It could have been a lot worse.
Oh yeah. See, the series, the DC anime or live action stuff is actually not bad.
The Arrowverse, yeah.
The Arrowverse is actually not bad. It's the individual shows in them are garbage. Like Supergirl's getting worse. What was the other one? Well, obviously Batwoman.
Arrow ended, I think.
Arrow was good. It was. I would randomly watch it on TV. I was like, it's not bad. For what it is, not what it's coming from or what That's why when you say an adaptation, it's like, yes, the adaptation has to take certain things, and if it's just a guy with a bow and arrow and he's rich, I'm like, okay, you could work with that. That's fine. It's not impossible. He doesn't have flight powers or phasing through walls like you saw in Smallville. But even Arrow in Smallville was okay. It was like, yeah, it's fine, until they started bringing in the crazy lore of like Hawkgirl and Hawkman and.
Oh yeah, it's like that one. That was a massive shoehorn.
The
only way they could have pulled it off. The only way they could have pulled that off was just to have already done the Justice League at that point, which was way off, years away.
Yeah.
But an adaptation can definitely take bits and pieces, and it can be as drastically different as possible. While as long as it's A, faithful enough, and B, actually fucking good. We honestly don't care about anything else. Just have at least the fundamental aspects of the original source be adapted faithfully, and have it be good.
All right. Here's a great question.
After that, yeah.
All right. Here's a super chat from Mad Courier 6. I think this is a great question. Since we're talking about Batman, is Gotham any good? I've been wanting to watch it, but wasn't sure it'd be worth the time. Okay. I think Gotham is good in general. There are seasons and episodes I particularly don't like, and I stopped watching after like season 3 or so. And the first 2 seasons I think are great. They're fun to watch. They're cute. They're not what I was expecting. I was like, and it's still pretty faithful. I don't like how Selena knows Bruce so early, but it kind of works. I don't like how Cobblepot or the pre-Penguin is there, but it kind of works. I really don't like what they did with Joker, even though it was really good interpretation.
It's on its own, it was pretty good.
Yes, it's interesting enough to keep you entertained, but the fan guy in the back of your head goes, "Oh my, what are they doing?" This is the problem.
Isn't he not the Joker?
I mean, then again, the Joaquin Phoenix movie was even more drastically different, and we liked that one. So, because it was mainly a good product. First and foremost.
I think, the first season and the depiction of Alfred and of what's his name, Gordon was really good.
Gordon.
Because the focus is Gordon. Gordon and his wife. His wife is really, the actor's fine, but the role she plays that develops is stupid. So there's lots of crap in these stories, but the core stuff, I think, with Alfred and Bruce and teaching him how to box and like little things like that. It's like, yeah, that's cool. Like that's nice to learn about. The same way Smallville was cool, and it was nice to, like, the first few years are great, and then after that it gets really weird. So I think it's a problem with not scaling, but the writing just sort of loses its way as you go through the seasons of popularity, and they lose the focus. But it did actually turn out the last few episodes with the Joker, and as much as I disliked the Joker, what they did, it was still pretty decent. So I would recommend watching Gotham. It's way better than any of the DC stuff out there nowadays. So
It gets crazy.
yes, it does. So not as goofy as Smallville though. So that's pretty. And Smallville went on for 10 years. So
I mean, quick thing. Would you say that Gotham is basically the Batman equivalent of Smallville in a way?
Well, yeah, that's what we thought it would be, and it kind of sort of did that, but not really, which is fun.
Yeah, but doesn't Superman wear a black T-shirt and declares to not be Superman? He's just the Blur.
He's the red blue blur, and then he's the blur, and then he goes angsty, then he loses his powers for the 17th time, and then he yeah, it's a mess. Like the Smallville was a soap opera essentially. So.
I would think, well, for me personally, before we move on, it's like I would say that Smallville and Gotham are pretty much like opposites. Smallville focuses almost entirely on Clark, while Gotham focuses just enough on Bruce, but mainly the Rogues Gallery. And since the two characters are meant to be opposites, even as far back as day one when they were first created, and from that aspect, you can kind of appreciate, like, when it comes to like looking at these shows from a critical lens. It's like they're years apart, obviously.
Oh yeah,
but you can appreciate certain aspects because it's a duality. I would say
the problem is, though, as you say, it was focusing more on the city. When they start focusing on Bruce and he's growing up, that's where I tune out. I'm like, oh, this is dumb. This is not Batman.
I thought they were focusing on Gordon.
They were until the actor grew up, because that's what happens to 13-year-olds and they get older.
Oh shit! We gotta put them
do
down.
they?
And they grow taller and they get bigger, and you're like, oh no, oh no, he's putting on a suit. Oh shit, this is gonna be garbage. So there's all this. I don't know if you guys remember seeing that promotional material of the suit, and you're like, oh no.
They could have just as easily had those like fixes just with a couple like a time skip or two here or there.
Well, we wanted Batman
right?
out of the picture. That's kind of the philosophy of Smallville, which was no flights, no tights, and
yeah,
you only see that right at the end, the last episode, and even
with the return suit.
Yeah, and that was fine. It was like, yeah, that's the philosophy. Keep it, maintain it. And with Gotham, they broke the rules.
Smallville was meant to connect with those movies, at least the returns, wasn't it? Or what? Did they just reuse the suit because?
I don't know. Smallville's such a mess.
No,
I don't think so.
Well,
I don't think the returns director gave a shit. What was it, Bryan Singer who did?
I mean, it was still a good moment. But again, I've said it on a previous Smudcast. Same writers as Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. Alrighty. Matthew Valenta, you gave me the same super chat. I guess we talked too much, and yeah. Okay. Well, As I iterated before, I would love to see a Nightfall or an Azrael or Sword of Azrael run on anything really, live action. I don't care. Just give it to me. I want to see it. So
Arkham is part of the reason why people remember Azrael again.
Do Deathstroke again.
Yeah.
Azrael actually at some point did get a Bruce Timm art style redesign, and it actually looks pretty damn good.
I think it's a cool costume. The story is pretty neat. It's not too over the top. It's not too whimsical. And it makes science. It makes some scientific sense. I'm like, yes, this could technically happen, and I'm happy with that. So
I honestly prefer Azrael's Arkham design over his original comics design. The white just fits more.
Yeah, but
with the aesthetic.
White is too. White is not exactly the best
Shut up.
color scheme for an assassin.
Hey! Assassin's Creed, they make it work.
Well, okay. Well.
To be fair, in City he starts with the red with white highlights, but for Night they reverse it just to have it's a more unique design for him. That's all I'm saying.
Because white supremacy.
Shut up, he's black, dude.
Anyway, let's keep going.
He's our what?
Azrael is black.
So hold
on.
A completely different approach to the problem. He recognizes that the existing system simply cannot solve those problems. However, he is not going to destroy it. Instead, he puts himself outside the system, outside the set norms and laws, and recognizes that he will judge what is right and wrong, will bring justice and restore order where it is needed, and assumes that serious threats can be combated by violence which does not need anyone's consent.
Is that necessarily true?
This may look like a dictatorial or...
I keep trying to pause.
Like rewind to like 5 seconds just in case.
He's not trying to... He never judges, by the way. Never. He, unless you're saying like he judges hurting people as bad and you should be put to prison, then guess. But no, he doesn't judge. He captures, or rather, like knocks the fucker out.
So that the law can judge him.
Yeah, and the law's pretty shit every time.
Like, isn't his whole thing is that he's trying to fix the system rather than not be a part of it?
Well, it's
kind
of
odd.
Fix it, yes. In a way, but he doesn't really involve himself in this system.
Yeah, not entirely.
Yeah, He think of it like from a perspective of a child, and how, at least in the animated series, how Batman came about. His parents died. He has all this reason to get angry at the system, but he doesn't know how to influence it. Now, as a kid, he used to watch was the movies or TV shows with his dad, which was The Grey Ghost.
The Grey Ghost, yes.
And that was his inspiration for Batman, to have this superhero-like character who is basically the Shadow and runs around and stops crime. And it's like that's his idea. So he's going to do that, but he doesn't know how to become the Grey Ghost. He has to go train, and that's where everything starts off. So
as well as have his own like moniker, his own image to strike that fear in the hearts of the evil of Gotham.
I think that
the image of the Bat. It came eventually in his later years, in his like I think late 20s, early 30s, when he's like started, and then eventually he got the idea for the Bat as his totem.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. I can't remember if that was in Gotham Knight, like the short story animated stuff, or was it actually in the series where he started off as not as Batman, just a guy with a beanie on.
Yeah, in the animated series.
Oh,
they showed it in Mask of the Phantasm.
Mask of the Phantasm. That's where it was. Okay, that's it. That's why I liked it so much.
The main bulk of how Batman started is in Mask of the Phantasm.
Yes.
Movie, by the way.
Great.
And they clearly show he was just a guy in a mask, like any of the thugs he was beating on. And then eventually he came upon the idea of the Bat as this like animal totem for that image of fear.
It was great scene where he jumps on a car and smashes it with a hammer. It's like, oh, this is so practical. He's just doing everything with his basic tools, and no one's scared of him. He's just some crazy guy in a hat. You're like, what the fuck?
Let alone the scene later where he actually does complete the bat suit, and then he just puts the cowl on, turns to Alfred, and he's like, my God.
Oh,
at least in universe, that cements that's the image that's gonna work.
Yes, I like that. Anyway, Let's go back to Matthew Valente. You never answered my question. You talked too long. Well, I was giving you the rundown of the shows from DC from the 90s up to 2000s and what was made and why they were made. Because, when you talk about the movies that were made and they talk about the bat suit, they keep changing the bat suit to make it better and whatever. And the natural progression is Nolan, where he actually argues a plot point why the bat suit doesn't work and why the plates don't work and the cowl doesn't work. So
I can. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
With the animated series, I don't think they're going to make another just straight Batman story. I don't think that would work. They have to tell a different.
Not like this, no.
No, they have to tell something within the Batman universe, or it's going to be another DC character. So that's why I was hoping for a Nightfall or some kind of arc that involves, I don't know, I was trying to think of some popular Batman spin-off like Nightwing could work. That could be a story.
Early on, like years back, they did adapt Dark Knight Returns finally.
Oh yeah, I
the movie.
that.
And it's like we also got to keep in mind the animated series. The specific goal of the animated series was to make a show that was for Batman centric, that was in direct defiance of the norm of cartoons at the time. You look up, I believe it was a documentary for the animated series that came out on YouTube that actually brought on some of the people involved in the show. It's clear as day. You see the show now after that explanation, and yes, it was made directly against the norm, the stigma that cartoons had gained up to that point, which is like the wacky, zany kind of slapstick kind of shows.
Right.
They wanted, the reason why it was created, they wanted something to go directly against that.
And all we
Batman was the perfect fit for that kind of show.
And all we had during that era, I think Gargoyles came later, but it was Spider-Man and other Marvel stuff with X-Men, which were fine, but that was, Marvel. DC had its own huge property to play with. And I think Superman came in right after the animated series for Batman. So
yes, that's exactly how they planned it, yeah.
Yeah, so these things were figured out. So when it comes to why we don't have these anymore, they don't know what they're going to do next because there's so much to play with. They don't know if it's going to work. And because we have streaming services that are buying up properties or borrowing licenses and this and that to make whatever, it probably won't sell, or in the traditional way of selling as they did in the 90s, because 90s was all broadcasting and advertising and toys.
And most especially the effect social media has on these kinds of shows now.
Yeah, Netflix is what? It's going to be a live action, lots of swear. Like, what the hell was Titans? Does anyone still watch Titans? I don't even know what that thing is anymore.
The guy who said
fuck Batman. Yeah, that was gonna be. It's like that show. I believe that show was made to be an exact opposite of Go, and they failed in that aspect too. I think it was after that the Go movie came out, and they at the very least teased that the original cartoon was going to come back for the 6th season or a reboot, a proper reboot. And we've not heard anything since, and at least specifically in terms of Teen Titans, we've not heard anything of that tease since. So
why don't we get these anymore?
They're at least paying more attention nowadays.
Yeah,
being ever so slight.
You would have to take a huge risk to create a character that's likable in a format that no one really cares about anymore, which is broadcast TV, and put it on a streaming service, get an animation studio to back it. And I don't think the writing is a problem. I think, we could find they'll get good writers for Batman. That's not a problem. I don't think, I think there's a higher hit rate for good Batman stories than a miss rate. So I don't think that's the issue. Most of the cartoons and movies that have been Batman-centric since the animated series, most of it's been a home run. Yeah, I agree. The animated stuff is just fantastic. So,
animated series, all the DCAU stuff. The Batman is pretty fine. Brave and the Bold, we talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
And some of the other stuff, like the New 52 movies and some of that other stuff, which they're going, guys, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to go into Rebirth now with the animated movies.
Oh, really?
Which I hope is good. So they had I think it was like Apocalypse War, where Flash goes back in time again, change things, which I believe is going to be like the reset button to establish the reboot, the rebirth era.
That's rather modern compared to the stuff that we like reading, but it could work. It's not horrible.
Rebirth is pretty much the original continuity before New 52.
I know, but this is like the last 7 years or whenever it started. Like, it's not. When I think of Batman, I think of like the 70s and 80s, and Frank Miller.
Or in this case, what we're talking about, like the 90s, like animated series,
Right,
Skeleton, and it's like a lot of good versions recently. Like we said before, it's like the skeleton of a lot of good versions of Batman after the animated series take directly from the animated series, hence Arkham.
You know what I think would work well, since we talked about Arkham so many times, they can do a 3D animated show of Batman. We have the technology, we have the voice acting, we have the animated talent, we have the game engine or the engines to do it. Just make a cutscene heavy animated Batman story. I don't know what.
Yeah, if anyone recalls the old like CG trailers for Arkham City, that I believe is the benchmark for this kind of project.
There you go.
Because those trailers, the ones that were like the one trailer in particular, which I think was the first trailer after the announcement where we see the sick Joker. The first trailer after that was like as part of a lead up to the events of the game, and that trailer looked pretty damn good.
Yeah. Anyway, so I hope that answers your question. We don't have a great answer though, because I don't understand the business of putting this stuff onto TV or streaming anymore. So, but we understand the history of how they came about.
I think it could be as simple as how much the industry has changed since then. And it's like it has changed sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. It is still an amazing beat that Castlevania turned out as good as it did.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Batman has been, out of all the other animated stuff we've ever seen in the past 10, 20 years, Batman has maintained a level of quality that is good. Like, it's not horrible, it's not amazing, it's in that good to great area that is fun to watch all the time, like Bad Blood or Year One or whatever. Just pick it up, watch it, it's still good. That's why
above average, I would say.
Yeah, but definitely above average. Yeah, so good stuff. Good stuff, DC, with Batman. Be careful with it. That's all I have to say. Anyway, let's go.
Or authoritarian attitude in which the individual recognizes that he is not responsible to anyone, which incidentally he is accused of by figures assessing his media actions. However, this association is not entirely accurate. Authoritarianism is based on attempts to fix problems by taking...
Did you say authoritarianism?
I think he's just... No, I think he's just proving that I think he's arguing that Batman isn't that.
Yeah, he's trying to argue that Batman isn't authoritarian. Okay, he's just acknowledging that other people, in lore, like other people, it's like, oh, Batman is taking the law to himself or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's like arguing, no, Batman is not that kind of guy. Hopefully he is. At least I don't know. I've been growing a bit cynical lately.
The vast majority of versions are. It's like he works outside the system. He has his own brand of justice that, for the most part, still aligns with the better parts of Gotham.
Yeah.
Okay.
The highest place in the hierarchy in the system and subordinating and shaping it from above. Meanwhile, Batman does not occupy a place in the hierarchy at all, but remains outside the system. He does not accept any formal authority or intend to subordinate anyone. He simply recognizes that the system needs temporary outside help. He puts himself above the rules, but not because he rejects them, but because they are insufficient in a given situation. He bends and breaks norms and rules because he thinks that in some situations it is a better way to achieve the goal for which these principles exist. That is to ensure social security. At the same time, he knows that this is an emergency.
I'm not sure what he understands what social security means, literally. So.
Excuse me, sorry.
Comrade.
Yeah, that one little bit kind of confused me.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's concerned about their 401ks or their. If you
tell me you don't know Batman's Social Security.
Well, no,
I can only
number.
I can only assume he means Social Security as in the security of the people.
Yeah, literally.
He pretty much means that. He's just wording it wrong.
Look, Batman has a Batman credit card, right?
Well, not for the people, not like a security net of people who go into poverty, but no.
like that. It's like
Oh,
I
and
assume
then-
he means social security, as in like the security and the safety of the people of
Yeah.
Gotham.
Of people, yeah. So criminals don't.
Probably just worded it wrong, but it's like
The
yeah,
people. You sound like
They're
Bane.
not
the people.
The people.
Gotham is yours.
Oh well,
Anyway, yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah,
he is
this-
right on this. The point is he works outside the system not because he's against it, but because like sometimes that the system needs that extra push in order to like do it right.
Yeah, a good example is The Dark Knight when he went after the Chinese guy. I forgot his name. And,
Mr. Lau.
Because Mr. Lau. I was gonna say Mao, but yeah, Lau. But
Mr. Mao.
Lau stopped the communist Mao. Batman went back
Tomato,
in time.
tomato. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Batman went to China to beat the fuck out of him, and then took him right back to Gotham. It's like that is like the point of like, oh yeah, okay, so the cops can't go to China because they're restricted. They can't just hey, let's invade China and take over Laos, even though I do wish that. Let's go. And yeah, but I don't think Social Security isn't anything else like your credit card or something like that.
Yeah, I think he got his English wires mixed there, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
I just got it wrong. That's
He's
it.
Polish, okay?
That's fine. I don't mind. It's okay.
Polish.
Here's John Doe, the average Joe. Thanks for the $1.99. Thoughts on animated version of The Long Halloween? I heard it was awesome. I haven't seen it, so
Neither have I. And considering
neither.
after watching and suffering through Ruby, I might
oh, it's
give myself a breath of fresh air.
You're still bitching about Ruby.
Oh
it's,
my god!
God!
I can guarantee you it's gonna be amazing if you just came from watching Ruby.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's gonna be like you went to the Taj Mahal and won like $1 million. You're like, whoa, this is great.
Whoa! I did it.
You should also watch The Killing Joke.
Oh, the
No,
sex
not-
part. I heard that's the most important factor.
That movie's fine. I don't see why it gets that much of a bad rap. It's decent.
Okay, Gigaman. Bad
I've seen
sex.
it. No, I've
That's all I
seen
gotta
it.
see. That's all I gotta
Yeah,
say.
well, that's all you've got to say.
Batman and Batwoman have a nice little cuddly.
No, not Batwoman, Batgirl.
Batgirl, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Batman is a Joe Biden underneath
I mean,
that.
speaking of Batwoman, it's like who remembers the mystery of the Batwoman from back in the DCAU,
I don't.
where there's 3 of them? I spoiled it, but I don't care.
Was that with Cassandra?
No.
Okay. Kate Kane then? Was it with
Kate Kane, yeah,
Was it
right.
Kate Kane? Okay, fine. I think I know what you're talking
It will be when if it's a woman.
about. That was yeah. Well, anyway,
It's your favorite show, right?
weird outfit by the Batwoman there. Yeah. Anyway, Mad Courier 6. Thanks for the 10. Ruby. Oh no, Ruby has already infected your brain. You can't escape, guys. I've never seen an episode of Ruby. I just saw that. I just saw
better off never seeing it.
that one video from that fan, and I was like, "This is bad. This is a bad idea."
Bad. Let's get it vetoed.
This is a
So
bad
sorry, I'm
idea.
I'm so salty about this.
Maybe there's some better fan Ruby videos out there. I just haven't seen one yet. So
It's a trap.
No,
I'm not
be a
against talking about these topics. I'm not the best skilled. I don't know it, but we have to get the right video. We can't just watch an anime music video of Ruby or I don't know.
That sounds a lot better, actually.
It might be more fun, actually. You're right.
I
But,
wish it was an animated music video. What are
Yeah.
you talking about?
so, having a fanboy gush about anything is like, ugh.
I love every scene.
It's amazing. It's the color and the anime. I love the director, producer, animator, writer. Like, okay.
No, the most common things like Zephyrs.
It captures true humanity.
True humanity.
It's true art.
True art. Oh my god.
No.
All right. 3 minutes
Um,
in. Not even halfway done. We're okay. We're good.
Agency that cannot be the norm. When promising prosecutor Harvey Dent arrives in Gotham, hoping to resolve problems legally, Batman is relieved, and hoping that the system will return to normal and he will no longer be needed. This unfortunately does not happen after the Joker decides to prove to him that everyone has their dark side.
Okay, I just want to make this known. If your face is that burnt, yes, the outer layer of your skin, your epidermis would be gone. You'd be in excruciating pain, and you'd be bleeding.
Constantly.
There's when people see in films when they burn a wound or whatever, and they there's a certain term for it where it cuts the circulation of blood to that part of the skin. It's like, yeah, but underneath that skin there's still blood. So
Yeah.
Harvey would have to be
Was
wrapped
there-
in swaddling.
Harvey would
Was-
be in constant pain.
Was there
just for,
was there an
like, getting out
explanation
the air.
in the Batman animated series? Because it was acid, right?
Yeah,
It's
Batman
always been
animated
acid.
series
It's
is
usually acid, yeah.
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah. Was there what's the explanation for that one?
Oh yeah, he got it half.
It was gasoline that was on fire, yeah.
Gasoline, yeah.
Yes,
And half of
gasoline.
his face was
Half his face is burnt off.
Yeah.
by gasoline.
Don't think about it.
Then Harvey went insane. And then for some reason in the fucking hospital, they just leave his face like
And
that.
that scene is
Because
so
he was rejecting skin grafts. Didn't you hear?
Oh yeah?
yeah.
Rejected, but get a fucking bandage.
And honestly, I do like the fact that in the animated series, he already has the split personality, and the accident just makes it worse.
Oh yeah.
This movie doesn't he doesn't have a split personality. It's just
I mean, I think only the animated series did it that way. Don't quote me on that.
Well, either way, a plastic surgeon would be like, okay, we got to do this, and I want to see that conversation where Harvey says no. That would be weird.
I mean, I think the reason why he stays as Two-Face like that is because either he just doesn't accept it, or that there's literally nothing they can do for him, despite certain versions having the technology to do it.
It was like offhanded reference. Like he just denied it. He denied pain meds. He denied any sort of help, and he was just angry, I guess.
still you need a fucking bandage to cover that because that would be painful when you go in the
Yes, you
open air.
need help.
I was just reading Ego Dreamer's wonderful Metal Gear Solid 3 reference of Snake repairing himself from bullet holes. And I can imagine him doing plastic surgery. Okay, Snake, in order to perform plastic surgery, take the scalpel and provide a 2 centimeter long cut along the diameter of your eyeball.
I mean,
It's like, what?
if it's the twin snakes, he probably just matrix dodges all the bullets anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Anyway, that's it's awesome. Snake can just do anything in the field. It's like, yeah, break your arm, replace it, just put it back together, you're fine.
No, I don't. No, not that far. I mean, Russians can do anything.
He has like 30 arrows sticking out of his body. He's like, yeah, just pull them out, you're fine.
Arrows when?
Like a pin
Colonel!
cushion.
Oh.
Anyway.
In many stories, it is shown that the fight against evil can dangerously bring you closer to it. And by reaching for radical measures, even for good reasons, it is easy to cross the line between good and evil. It is worth noting, however, that Batman is not an anti-hero like Punisher or Wolverine, who likewise do not shun unlawful violence against people for the purposes of narratives considered to be bad. And while they have their justification for what they do, we could not call their actions good.
Yeah, but Punisher also is another hero that only deals that kind of violent justice to criminals. He wouldn't dare touch an innocent person.
Yeah.
To the point where he respects Captain America to such a point where he will not lift a finger to do anything to Cap in a one-on-one fight, not in the least.
Well, he's saying that there's no good. I'm like, what is no good from Punisher killing a pedophile?
Exactly. He only does that. Yeah, exactly. Again, he only does that kind of like violent justice to criminals and only criminals.
You could say some good, but I don't know, no good at all.
Yeah, some good. There are consequences, yes, to be sure. But he has a proper code of honor. I'd say as concise as Batman. or maybe more so.
Whereas Wolverine, yeah, I guess he was sort of the animal when he was in the Weapon X program, right? And he's killed some innocents. If my memory isn't too foggy.
I believe, yeah, he was pretty feral.
On occasion, yeah, but on occasion it tends to be A, he's feral, which means he can't control himself, and B, it's because he's feral, it's by accident usually.
Yeah,
you can't really blame him entirely.
Yeah, in this example, he's just comparing the level of vigilantism or anti-hero-ness and saying, okay, well, this is what the Punisher's like, and Batman's not like that. It's like, yeah, you're right, that's fine. It's not a big deal.
Meanwhile, what Batman does, the viewers usually clearly assess as positive. This is because, as we said, he does not reject the rules in themselves, and what is more, he does not do it for himself.
Yeah, he breaks, he bends and breaks some of the rules, depending on...
Bends it. I think if you want to make a comparison between Batman and the Punisher, that the Punisher kind of directly opposes the rule, more so than Batman, because Batman, brings the criminals in and let the law judge.
Yeah, from that certain perspective, Punisher is a bit worse because he just straight up kills them. But
yeah, it's like Punisher acts as the judge and jury, while Batman kind of like more vigilante police, kinda. I don't know.
Oh, this reminds me of Legal Eagle when we covered talking about apprehension of criminals and how he's saying it doesn't really matter how the cops get them. Even though that was a plot point in the animated series of the fake trial that Batman was on, where if only Batman was part of the legal department or the police department, therefore the criminal would have gotten a proper trial or whatever. And they had to let him go, which was this bizarre.
He actually said that. That's funny.
Well, yeah, because that was one of the reasons why. Was it the governor? What the hell was she? Was she the DA? I can't remember what she was. I think she was the DA for Gotham. And she ended up changing her tune and all that crap. All that fun hijinks that Legal Eagle had to go through for fun. It was a silly episode, yeah.
I just want to say I apologize. I got to drop off a little early here.
Okay, Gigaman, no problem. Thanks a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Take care.
Take it easy.
All right.
Alrighty. Enjoy the rest of the video.
All right. We are halfway done, so hopefully we can fill this in with our limited Batman knowledge.
He does not act in emotions or revenge. He does this because he believes it's the best way to save other people from experiencing what he did. What's more, he could lead a comfortable, rich life, but he gives it up for his mission. And when asked why, he answers that he must do it because no one else will. His calling is his whole life. Unlike other heroes who hide their true self under the image of a superhero, in the case of the
There's the scene. Yeah, we got it.
Dark Knight, Bruce Wayne is an artificial person shown to the world under whom his true self, that is Batman, hides. This is well illustrated by the scene at the costume party where everyone except for Bruce Wayne wears a mask, because his everyday face is a mask for the real person who is Batman. Authority is key to understanding Batman's social perception. The fact that he is received by many characters positively and social justification for his action does not result from his position in the hierarchy, but rather from his authority. And these are two different...
Authority of what? What are you talking about? What is Batman an authority of?
Yeah, he's not acting as an authority. Not really.
He's
like he acts... That hierarchy is just giving me some renegade fucking flashbacks. Anyway,
PTSD.
Authority. Yeah, the vertical fucking hierarchy shit. Yeah, where was I? Yeah, he doesn't have an authority because again, unlike the Punisher, who basically acts as an authority, like I will execute them regardless. Where Batman is like, I will subdue them and leave it to the law to do the rest of the work. That's not necessarily authority. He's not placing himself in the hierarchy.
He's essentially a boogeyman for criminals, and they could make jokes about, the Batman's going to come get you. He's a scary bedtime story or nursery rhyme or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
A myth.
Like, don't.
Yeah, I never seen the Batman. He's this tall and this does this. Like whatever. So he becomes a part of the myth of the city that criminals think twice before doing things. The same with any other hero or vigilante. So I don't know if that's an authority based off the way you think of the police as being an authority, where you have this other person or other group of whatever that can stop you or prevent you from doing things. Like that's fear is a good detriment to doing things. That's probably why people with actually have guns or are allowed guns in certain cities, that the crime rates are much lower, especially in homicide involving guns. So you could argue that, but I don't think he's wording it properly. You can't just say authority. Authority of what? Being the only guy who's scary? Maybe? As opposed to police?
I'm just imagining the mother telling her child is like, don't be a bad boy, or the boogeyman Batman's gonna break your legs and give you a concussion.
Yeah, it becomes this household name. It's part of what Gotham is, yeah. All right, anyway.
When does it ever
Things,
become
while you
an
can
authority?
impose a hierarchy on someone, you can't
Like
force
Sons of
them to
Batman?
recognize authority. Authorities are shaped from below. And of course,
Why? What do you mean? If I go to school and I have a professor, I'm not under him I'm a student, but he's just one of many professors I have. He is an authority figure because he knows a subject very well. That's what it means to have an authority figure in terms of knowledge or in terms of academics. But I'm not trying to become him. I'm not trying to get under him and then surpass him and become the authority figure on the subject. I'm just learning philosophy 101 or whatever the courses I'm taking. So the argument from authority is one where we say that I'm the expert, therefore I know stuff, and that's what I'm trying to say. But I don't think he's even saying that. He's just saying there's a hierarchy to authority. And you're like, yeah, that there is, but Batman's just a guy. And he might have helpers, but there's no real hierarchy in that either. It's just Batman needs help, so he asked Robin to come with him. Or Batman needs a tank, and he brings his tank with him, or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, not quite understanding his argument here. The authority.
If there even is one, I don't know. I don't know.
Batman is the authority of shitting your pants. There's an authority. He scares the crap out of you. That's about it.
So he's the one to blame for this. Okay.
Gives you panic attacks. It's the authority on giving you a heart attack. Like, okay.
it's good when people in the hierarchy have some authority, but we know that this is not always the case. And Batman's example just shows the power of authority that is not part of any hierarchy.
So what the hell? If it's not part of a hierarchy, then what's the authority then?
Yeah, Batman's an authority, but not part of the hierarchy?
I am lost. What are you talking about? You just said there's a hierarchy, and now there isn't one. You're like, okay.
No, he said that Batman's not part of it. You see?
It became a horizontal hierarchy.
He's part of the vertical hierarchy, but not the horizontal hierarchy.
I don't know. Anyway, I lost the point. I think I know
he's not part of it.
I think I know what he's trying to say about Batman being a thing, like an entity that has its own agency to enact justice and do stuff, and he's not part of any group. You're like, yes, there's no hierarchy. You're right, but he still has authority. I mean, as what? What does he have authority as? Tell me what that authority is. Like the authority of X, authority of ass kicking, authority of stopping you from committing crimes, like authority of give me the thing. That's it. That's all I need.
No, he's just an authority, I guess.
Yeah.
He drives
it's not as irritating. It's not as irritating as someone told me it's Rish Al Ghul. Fucking hate.
I thought it was Raj Al Ghul.
It's Ras Al Ghul. Raz.
Raish?
Raish. It's Raish.
Raz.
It's
No, Raish is retarded. Raish isn't even a word. It makes no
Raz
sense.
Al Ghul.
Ras, yeah, it means head. Raish is not even a word. Not even Moroccans use that word.
Isn't that what they always call him in the animated series and whatnot?
The animated series,
Raish.
fucking Talia is like, it's a race. I was like, you're retarded. I want you to die. What? And he fucking
He's
retarded
from a
bitch.
magical Arabian country. No one knows. He's just no one can pronounce it.
But it's Raish. It's like Raish is.
They even said Raish
gay.
in the Arrow show when he has to fight Raish.
Yeah, and Arrow is like, I am Raish al Ghul. It's like, who the
I was like,
fuck
oh
is
wow,
Raish?
they called him Raish. Wow,
No, I was the opposite. I was like, God damn it, why Raish?
I don't know. Pepperidge Farm remembers.
It's like in Batman Begins, they say Raz al Ghul, which like, oh, that's better. It's like it, but in fucking everything else, like Rish. Rish isn't a word. Raish
People were
doesn't
upset
even-
when they were saying Roz.
Who? I'm serious. Who?
The animated series fans.
They're
They were-
retarded.
Oh, that's a hot take.
We can't get any man to speak like 2 seconds on the phone. Like, how do you pronounce head in Arabic? Like, I don't know. Just spell
It's
it out.
Ras. That's it. RAS. That's it.
Yeah.
Ras.
From the words of
Roz.
an Arabian man, yes.
It's like, and I even asked like a guy from Tunisia, a guy from fucking Morocco of all places. It's like, no, well, what's Raish? That's not even a word. Yeah. And anyone who thinks Raish is a right word, you should fucking commit self-die.
Uh-oh.
Hey, I never said the word.
Whoa.
Eat my ass.
Whoa. We don't want to go too far.
Anyway, let's keep going.
People, including fans who support Batman, do not actually approve of extrajudicial actions or that they would like anybody to perform them. They recognize that only he can do such things. Thanks to his extraordinary authority, people see him as an exception. This is perfectly illustrated by the scene when the retiring Commissioner Gordon is asked by his successor how he could tolerate someone in the city who breaks the law so clearly. He replies that important and big matters can be ambiguous, and that sometimes we just can't judge if something brings more good or bad, and then we have to rely on someone bigger than ourselves. And it's not like Batman couldn't abuse his power or do something wrong. However, because of who he is and what he has achieved so far, we trust that he will not. In this sense, Batman is a symbolic representation of how he, or even perhaps how authority, should work in crisis situations. Of course, it can be said that this type of attitude of trust towards authority can also raise a number of problems, at least in the form of people who think they are special enough to do the same.
Wait. What is he talking about? He showed a scene from The Dark Knight Returns, right? That was Dark Knight Returns, right?
I
Yes.
thought that was the 89.
Was that 89?
Oh, that was the Dark Knight Returns.
That was Dark
No,
Knight?
I meant the animation.
Oh.
Yeah, because Gordon retires, right? And he
Retires
this
and
new
it's
person.
this
Right.
new lady.
Yeah, the new person takes over or whatever.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm still
They have-
lost on this authority shtick he's talking about.
So here's the thing. The closest thing to authority was in The Dark Knight when fucking Lucius realizes that Bruce is using the sonar. Is basically monitoring people's cell phones and shit. And here's the thing. This is the
Yeah, but he
closest
destroys
thing-
it.
Yeah, he destroys it in the end. That's why I'm saying it's the closest thing to authority because like, oh shit, you know.
I don't
Oh,
even know.
Batman is
What
kinda
was his
monitoring.
plan? He was just trying to find the Joker. Is that really?
He was. That was his ultimate plan. Lucius was arguing, was like, okay, Batman, this is actually a bit fucked up. And Batman told
But
him,
he's-
like, I'm gonna use it this once, and then you destroy it.
But he's trying to say it's best illustrated in like that scene from The Dark Knight Returns, which is
Oh, yeah.
how Gordon
It's
can
kind
tolerate
of-
Batman's breaking of the law, if you will, and over the many years, how does he tolerate it all? You know?
Yeah, but that's not authority, that's like reliance, so to speak. Because, like, oh, if this is out of our hands, then we got nothing but Batman, then. It's not necessarily authority.
Plus, Batman was retired for how many years?
I forgot.
You remember Smud? It wasn't like 10 or 20, was it?
Well, he was in his 60s at least.
Yeah, he was in his 60s. But I don't know for how long he was retired.
Anyway,
And then Gotham was just getting out of control again. But yeah, sorry. Anyway.
yeah, whatever he's trying to, I want to see what he's getting at here, because it's kind of like, okay, yes, this is a particular storyline, but I think Gotham sees it as this silent protector, and we know that. So the people would have said something, we got to get rid of this guy because he's breaking the law. At the same time, I was like, well, he's also helping us. So whatever he's doing is preventative, whereas the police are always reactionary to whatever crime just happened. So it's stopping the police from having to get involved outside of simply reporting, oh, here are a bunch of criminals that Batman rounded up for us.
The corrupt cops, yeah.
Well, that's the other angle as well, why Batman is needed. So you could call that authority. It's just an odd word when I hear it in that sense. He has the authority to do these things and the people just accept it. There's no legal, judicial reason. It's just the way it is.
Maybe Batman's alt-right.
He's so good at hiding from everyone. No one knows how he comes and goes.
He's a Nazi.
He's the Bat Nazi, yeah.
Bat Nazi.
At least form of people who think they are special enough to do the same. With the fact that many of them either don't know what they've gotten themselves into or do not have inhibitions and become exactly what they wanted to fight. And in the political sphere, misplaced trust can lead to catastrophic consequences.
There is no political sphere. The only
Is he really trying to use the Sons of Batman as the argument?
You could make the argument in that particular storyline that is a political struggle because of a bunch of people who are part of a group or trying to be violent, and then another person comes along to take over the group, and they all follow him to not be violent. It's just like, okay, that it could be considered a political struggle, but it's just a bunch
in that one story, yeah.
It's just a gang.
And doesn't that story end afterwards?
Yeah, well, the story does end, but the Sons of Batman end up. He brings them to his cave.
Oh, I never got to see the. Yeah, but I mean, we don't get to see. We don't get to see the aftermath when they become the Sons of Batman.
Well, yeah,
or is there comic books about it?
This is like a militia, really. This is like when the police aren't involved or are no longer useful. They have their own. The people come together and form their own militia, and this is what these Sons of Batman are. And they're very violent because that's all they know. Bruce comes in and says, "Hey, no, I'm going to teach you how to use violence properly, and no guns and this and that." So
weapons are for cowards, right?
Yeah, the
These
tools,
are the weapons of cowards.
Tools of cowards or whatever. Yeah, so
yeah,
that you could call that, because we're talking about groups of people vying for authority, a political struggle. But this is, not the way that we would think of a political struggle in legislature or voting. This is a bunch of guys with sticks going, okay, we're policing this town now. This is like frontier, Wild West kind of stuff. So, it's loose definition.
Were they super mutants?
No, they're just people.
No,
just normal people.
That one guy was a mutant. I don't know what the hell they did. How, like, his teeth were all whatever. He's like a shark. But
he's a mutant. Yeah, he's the only mutant, and Batman fucking broke every bone in his body.
Didn't kill him.
He didn't kill him, but he broke his face.
All right.
I don't use guns. Here's my Vulcan gun.
This isn't a fight. This is an operating table, or whatever the hell he said.
And now I'm the
surgeon.
yeah.
All right.
Which will be discussed in the episode on tyranny with Star Wars.
Tyranny. This guy's amazing.
Why is shiny here?
It's shiny.
Whole thing I
tell you the tyranny.
The tyranny of shiny.
Tyranny was the tyrant all along.
That's
cool. It wasn't Palpatine.
He's part of the hierarchy
of authority.
Yeah, but he's not part of the hierarchy. He's just an authority of the hierarchy.
Yeah.
Whatever that
The
means.
authority of the hierarchy of the authority of hierarchies.
Okay, well, I think this is it if he's going to start talking about his other video, but let's see what... We got a minute left anyway, so...
As an example. And unless you can of course say that it is better to approach the issue yourself if you have the competence, however this does not change the fact that in many issues the world is overwhelming us and reliance on authorities cannot be avoided, even in cases where we simply lack knowledge. Also regarding the exception to the rules.
Wait. So he's saying societies need authorities and authority people and people that do things and authorities. Like, yes, you're right.
Okay.
Because we have no knowledge.
Well, yeah, but you could talk about a family. It's like the dad and the mom or the authority of the family. It's like, yep, it's true. It's fine.
Yes.
No disagreement. I don't know what you're getting at, though.
Unless you're a lefty.
Well, I don't know what this point is. Like, what is he trying to say? Like, societies have groups of people on top. You're like, yep, you're right. Every organization does that. Doesn't have to be human. It could be any animal, insect. There's always some kind of organization. You're right.
I just remembered. What does this have to do with Batman's morality?
I don't know.
Yeah, that last part is weird as fuck. I don't even know what he's going with this. That's not even morality, is it?
I'm actually baffled by this video a little bit. This is supposed to be like Batman's morality. You know, you go in, you try to examine his moral codes, right? Like, what is the right thing and the wrong thing over the depiction of Batman over the years?
Yeah,
and he's just sort of talking about, he's just talking about hierarchies. He's authoritarian, apparently.
I think he just thought like, oh, is Batman's actions moral? He should have at least put that as
Maybe
the title,
he should
not Batman's
title
morality.
the video, yeah.
Like, yeah, because I actually thought he would have used like a Batman Under the Red Hood as an example, where like he says, he says to Red Hood is that killing Joker was too goddamn easy, and if he killed him, you'd never have come back. That's explaining Batman's morality and why he doesn't kill. But no,
he hasn't even tackled that.
No,
really,
no, not even the slightest. He didn't even tackle comparison between him and the Punisher that well. He just said Punisher is not good. Batman is good. Eat butt and die. I mean sleep. Oh yeah, I'm just like he should have just said, oh, is Batman's position or actions moral, and say Batman's morality, because that's not Batman's morality.
Well, if he just clarified this paragraph, I would really like to know what he's getting at, because this is kind of not really a word salad, but I'm like, he's putting words together to make a point, and I'm just, what is your point? Like, what are you trying to... Groups need authority figures.
I can understand his point to a certain extent. It's just like he's not wording it well enough.
If he had an argument about rules and what rules Batman was breaking and why those rules being bent or broken were okay or not okay, then you're like, oh, there's a great understanding of Batman's morality and what he believes in and what he does, because he's a vigilante. But he just talks about, well, Batman can break rules because he has authority to do so. And by who? By no one. It's like, well, then what is the rule?
My God!
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway.
It doesn't sound like a discussion of Batman's morality, though. That's why.
What is it a discussion
titled the video like this.
Like, what is the topic then? What is he like? Is he talking about the law?
Yeah,
I don't
know.
Discussing whether Batman's action. There's a difference between saying, is your actions moral or not, and saying, what is your moral code? So, for example, you could discuss why Punisher does what he does. Like, for example, why Punisher kills people. Or you could say, is Punisher killing people right?
Yeah.
But instead of saying, what is Batman's morality? Why doesn't he kill people, even in extreme situations? He just says, no, is Batman's actions correct or right? He doesn't even explain the whole whether him not killing people.
Do the ends justify the means in The Dark Knight? To lie about Harvey Dent's criminal activities that he took in his last, days, I guess.
Yeah, like he never expands on that, it's kind of like this video isn't bad, to be honest. It's not terrible. It's
just
okay.
I don't know. The focus seems off.
Yeah. Seems like your first draft and an essay. I'll be honest, it's
first draft, yeah.
Compared to other drafts, it's definitely better than other first drafts we've seen.
It's like a college student wrote this, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying this in a sense of like, oh, he's shit. He's like, no, this guy can, if he just knows.
He can write.
Yeah, he can
good.
write, and if he knows just how to put his focus on like a certain point, I'm pretty sure he'll do pretty well.
All right, we got a minute left, and I think this is what's left in the video anyway. So,
And we have a Syrian shooting a PKM. Nice.
I love how all these people have these stock videos and images of just random shit. Some guy.
And then you have PKM guy in a Batman video.
I'm gonna write crazy equations on a piece of glass. Like, okay, sure.
Maybe because it looks similar to the gun that he was holding in the Dark Knight Returns.
I don't know. It's just
the M60.
he's doing equations. There's some sort of chemistry
It's similar to
shape on the bottom there. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I believe you.
My hexene ring requires some equations on top of it. Okay, fine.
Even if, for example, we recognize that violence is in principle a bad way of resolving conflicts, there is no doubt that
It's a bad way of resolving. It's a very efficient way of resolving conflict. What are you talking about?
Very efficient. It's very. I don't think is that his claim or is that his claim or is that just him saying what people are saying?
Well, I remember the 8 rules of war, whatever the steps. Like combat is the last step. Like after you try negotiation and pleading and deals and all this other stuff, like the last step is violence.
Blow them up.
Yeah, it's like
Nuke
that's.
Drink coffee.
You've exhausted every other opportunity. Violence does the job. It's like you're right. So
I'm trying to understand what war on other countries has anything to do with Batman's war on crime. Like,
war is bad, but Batman's okay. Like what? What is
maybe
that?
it is bad too. I don't know.
It could be, but maybe not to you. I don't know.
Depending on who you are and your skin color.
Violence is a social construct.
Oh, man.
there are cases it needs to be used because it simply is the least wrong way out. It's quite likely possible that Commissioner Gordon was right, and also in terms of good and evil, sometimes we cannot assess the situation clearly. And if we have no choice and the situation requires that we take a position, maybe we can do nothing but
Is that I think that's Aristotle, but I can't be sure. I don't know. Could be Plato.
That is Aristotle.
Could be Socrates for all I know, yeah. It's one of those old guys.
Oh god.
Okay. What was that chess match?
Yeah, that was creepy. Like, whoa. What
that was a weird ass chess match.
That looked like fingers or thumbs or.
You mean the player the hands themselves or the fucking.
Yeah. What
Oh my god! I have a dirty mind, so I don't want to look at this.
Bunch of
further.
angels with halos on the right, and I don't even. What is? Yeah, never mind. Let's just keep going.
What was Gordon right about?
He was referring to the Dark Knight Returns when he was saying like we just gotta trust Batman. Sometimes.
Gordon's
right.
Trust
him. You just gotta trust him in that weird chess game.
All right. So I'm thinking this is Socrates. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about, but okay.
I'm thinking this is a philosopher.
Reliance on someone else's judgment cannot be completely avoided. And if we do not do it consciously or deliberately, we will do it automatically in the first threat situation.
Okay, so if we don't know how to judge ourselves, we will automatically turn to violence. Sure. All right. That's not wrong.
Okay. Not necessarily, yeah.
I mean, how? But yeah, sure.
Yeah, if we're just a bunch of animals, we can't think. We'll just beat each other up. Yeah, you're right. That's what will happen.
Yeah, we're just cavemen. That's never changed.
All right. Well, that was interesting. Definitely different than what we usually cover. So a little refreshing, a little odd. Got lost the last 2 minutes as we usually do, just not in the crazy, bizarro way we usually do. Just the, what the hell is he talking about now? What are these words? What are you talking? What's your point?
What are these words?
Yeah, I thought it was Batman being moral, not society has hierarchies and authority figures, and we turn to whatever when we don't know what we're doing. It's like, yeah.
Maybe he watched Renegade Cutting and got infected. It
Well,
happens to the best of us.
I love the thumbnail. It says, "Is violence okay?" You know, like, did we ever get a question to that? I mean, did we ever get an answer to that question?
He seems to say I guess he said like violence is sometimes the least worst option. It's like, so I guess
yes?
yeah. I think yeah.
Just trust Batman.
Trust me. Source, trust me.
Oh boy.
Just like fuckers telling me race shall rule Rish. It's like source. Trust me.
It's
Batman
rich.
animated fucking series. Tell me race.
All right, here we go. Stream meme time. Adult discussion about Batman and Nightwing, and then Hawk has to talk about Dick. Okay.
You probably think he's gay too, don't you, Hawk?
Oh, this is great. Killing criminals, beating the shit out of them, and letting their hospital bills kill them. All that wonderful public health care.
Yeah, who is paying for the hospital bills?
Batman.
Batman is the Bruce Wayne, yeah.
He's a massive safety net for all the trauma victims.
Yeah.
There seems to be a correlation between Bruce Wayne's payment to the hospital bills and Batman beating up the criminals.
All right, here we go. Adam West, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale, Kevin Conroy is the goddamn Batman. And then we have another meme. George Clooney was the best Batman, and then we have Batman beating the crap out of Robin, saying, "How dare you?"
You should have shot him.
Let me guess, that's you, Smud, and then you're slapping Hawk, right?
I'm
trying
to compare George Clooney to Val Kilmer to Adam West, and I'm like, I don't know how to compare them.
All I know is George Clooney had bat nipples, and I hated it.
Well, that was the design of the suit. I think because we have the Schumacher flavor of Batman, that's when things get stupid.
Wasn't his first line like, "Hi, I'm Batman"?
Oh God, don't remind me.
And his bat credit card.
I think my cousins walked out of that the first 5 or 10 minutes of the film at theater. They were like, "This is horrible. This is stupid."
They paid for a ticket?
Well, yeah. When you see Batman and Robin surfing off, I don't know what the hell they were surfing off.
The air sometimes. They sometimes just go off the air.
I can't remember.
Mr. Freeze's.
And then they had
ice, I guess.
They had
some of it.
Was it wheels on their boots or was it ice skates? I can't remember what it was.
Ice skates.
No, yeah, ice skate. They ice skate in the first scene, and then when they're escaping, they fucking ski in the ice, and then I think they're no longer skiing, and then the fucking ski board has wings.
What?
I don't remember. I barely remember anything.
Was that Batman and Robin or Batman Forever? I can't remember. They're all horrible.
Batman and Robin.
This is why Superman works alone.
Yeah,
anyway.
Superman's like, I'm not.
Oh no, he ruined Superman too. That'd be funny.
My ears now, Wade. I'm not Wade. I'm Batman. That's great.
They did that joke in Deadpool too.
Yeah.
I'm Batman.
I gotta refer in the whole Batman beating the shit out of them and letting their hospitals. He could have mentioned that the video. Could have mentioned that. I was just like whether it's moral or not.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Because then he also leaves them so he can go find the supervillain. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's just for the story, I guess.
Yeah.
So here's a very good comparison between the animated series, the comic book, and the movie series, which has no relation to Batman. I'm rich as hell and very intelligent. What do you have? And he has family. Well,
that's not true. That's not true. Paul Walker died.
Well, Batman has family too, so not much, but he still has a family.
Yeah, they're in the grave.
What now, Dom? You can pretend like he's alive. He's not.
What's happening here?
2021 be like. Oh, is this the Robert Pattinson's The Batman against the Ben Affleck's Batman?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, it looks possibly Ben Affleck. Yeah, but I thought it was coming out next year, not 2021.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, 2022.
That sucks.
Well, the original video.
This year.
The original video, I think the famous trailer was 2021, or no, it was 2020, and then it had a question mark.
Had question mark.
Yeah, 202 question mark. Yeah, that was the.
I thought that question mark was for Riddler.
Well, it still doesn't tell us what the date. I thought because of the question mark, it started with a 2 or looked like a 2. So anyway, I could be
Maybe
wrong.
it's 30, 31. I don't know.
Yeah.
2025.
What's on your mind? I am Batman. And Groot likes this.
Groot.
I love this. I remember this. This was a meme. It's been out for a while, ever since the Guardians movies came out.
Oh yeah.
I am Groot.
Because hearts are too mainstream. So Batman makes a bat. What do you call that? What's the
bat symbol, right?
Hand symbol? Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Some things were still better in the old Batman. Man, Adam West is a great actor.
Totally.
Wow, that's her. That's
Yeah, there's lots of innuendo in those shows.
Oh, why, Alexis? Why, Courier?
Bat Blake Begins? Who the hell is Bat?
It's Ruby.
That's Ruby?
Oh, fuck.
It's a weird edit. Even though Blake's a fucking cat, not a fucking bat.
No, Ruby.
What is up with Ruby and the Discord? What is going on with you guys?
I found Hans streaming it, and I decided I might as well join since I watched Ruby long ago. And I suffered and remembered why I never watched it again. Yeah. And then Courier and Alexis plotted on getting this fucking meme.
We're gonna indoctrinate you, Smud.
We will do it.
This is great. Gorgeous Rex, I'm here to discuss Social Security. You mean my retirement? Sorry, English is not my first language.
Joker's just disappointed. He's just upset.
What? It's Joker constantly like, what the hell is Batman trying to ask me? Like, what's going on with this guy?
He's like, this is the guy who's my rival.
Like, what? Social Security. We live in a society, but the society is a hierarchy without authority. Oh boy.
No, I kind of wish like Robert De Niro just gives him a confused look and then Joker just shoots him. Okay.
All right. Violence, naked force has settled more issues in history than has any other factor. Oh, yeah. This is true.
Naked force.
That's what you gotta have.
I love that the sunglasses don't line up.
They don't need to. They always stick no matter what.
He'll just punch them on his face. That's what he'll do. Alrighty, guys. That was okay. Comparatively speaking to what we usually cover, that was less painful than I thought. So,
like I said, breath of fresh air compared to...
What'd you learn today?
I learned the word authority can be used, and you have to understand the singular reason or the singular definition of it, because when we think of it, we think of a group and of a hierarchy, and he's like, no, it's the ability to exert whatever powers that be. Like, okay, yeah, sure, cool. So, yeah, English may not be your first language, but, if you express words that way, I'm okay with it. I understand what you're saying. It's okay. So, yeah, good stuff. Anyway, keep the suggestions coming. If you guys didn't know, we didn't cover what was actually part of the poll because no one wanted to cover those videos. So it's kind of hard to do a Smudcast with no one. including myself who doesn't know the topic.
Wait, is that the third veto?
This wasn't a veto. This was like, there's nothing to choose from, even though the top two videos were just not... Like, we didn't veto the videos, just no one wanted to do them, so we had to choose something else.
Oh, I want to do Mass Effect.
I don't know why.
I was on board with F.
Gingaman made the suggestion from three votes or
Free Smudcast,
polls ago, and he was gung-ho, but he could only stay for an hour. That was fine. So, worked out. But, guys, I will have to find people to cover videos if I can't find them. And if we can't find anyone, I have to just choose another video. That's how it goes, unfortunately.
Smart. If you choose Ruby, you'll have plenty of people.
Really?
Trust me. Yes.
Supposedly.
Not from
Eric is gonna be there too.
Not from the guys I know that we usually come on.
How am I the issue?
No, I'm just saying. Not you, but no one I know will know anything about Ruby on the Smudcast team. Maybe the auxiliaries might say something. I could ask them. But I don't mind covering any video, guys. But you have to actually come on with me and talk about your passionate topic, because there's lots of topics I just don't have knowledge of. I just don't. I wish I did, but I have very specific interests. Unfortunately, I can't watch everything and read everything. So.
I promise. The next Ruby video, I will be there.
Oh, all right.
Smart, are you telling me you're not Batman?
I'm not a Batman fan per se, but I think
can't just memorize everything like Batman.
I think I enjoy a good Batman. Yeah, whenever people, hey, go watch this, like the Long Halloween. I totally forgot I was out this year, so gotta go watch it. Anyway, thank you guys. Keep the suggestions coming. Remember to keep in mind what we just said about suggestions, and have yourself a great evening. See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.